York couple under arrest tonight, accused of trying to hire a hitman to murder her estranged husband.
Officer Valerie Cincinelli faced a judge on Long Island within the last hour and was ordered into custody for trying to have her estranged husband killed.
Prosecutors say Officer Cincinelli tried to hire a hitman for $7,000 to kill her estranged husband as well as her boyfriend's young daughter.
Cincinelli joined NYPD in 2007, the 106th precinct in Queens. She dedicated the first part of her service to the community, and in 2016, she was awarded a fantastic accolade around community service by the National Guard, a real honor, that she was recognized. She did a number of roles, but the one that she spent quite a bit of time on was in the domestic abuse unit. During this time, she met her husband, Isaiah, and then they had a son together. Everything seems to be going well, and Cincinelli's got a lovely family life, her career's shining, she's got a great reputation, but out of nowhere, her relationship with her husband starts to crumble.
Got married, things started going south, and then when she got pregnant with their son, he described her as being manipulative, mean-spirited, jealous, all kinds of just nasty stuff. And she's on patrol one day with her partner, and she meets a guy, John DiRubba, washing his car out in front of his house. She starts chatting him up, they start talking, and this John asks her, "Are you married?" And she says, "Yes." And her partner says, "Unhappily married." So from there, they start a relationship on Instagram, and then that evolves into a sexual relationship where they're meeting at hotels, parking lots, etc. And it comes to a head when Cincinelli contacts her boyfriend, John, and says, "Hey, park down the street and wait for the show."
She decides to manipulate the situation with Isaiah, her husband. They have an argument, and he hits the phone out of her hand, it hits the floor. But she's able to very quickly get her colleagues to come to the address to arrest him. This is a woman who knows exactly what she is doing. She's setting up a scene, she's setting her husband up to look bad.
She tells the police that she's a victim of domestic violence now, and he got arrested. And John is watching all this from like half a block down, sitting in his car.
And she will know from her experience in the domestic abuse unit that she can use that in terms of any divorce proceedings. So she's really thinking about this, manipulating the situation, whilst also having a relationship with John. She's not looking like the bad person, is she? So if it comes out that she's been having this affair, if it does, actually, look what was happening. She was with a husband who was violent, or had a temper at least, and who could blame her for going off with somebody else? It feels like she's always thinking ahead. She's planning the situation, she's setting the stage.
She seems very calculated. These aren't like heat of the moment decisions. Staging this, domestic violence to see her husband get arrested and have her boyfriend, in the peanut gallery down the street, cackling and laughing at this poor guy as he's being hauled off in handcuffs and going to jail. What happened to the husband, Isaiah, was he pled down to a disorderly conduct. And when he got out of jail, he moved out of the house. And he contacted a divorce attorney, so that kicks off the divorce.
She becomes more fixated on John, her lover. She gets more obsessive about his relationship with his daughter. And she doesn't like the fact that he's spending money on his daughter, his time with his daughter, and looking after her. So she becomes obsessed with this. Only 11 months into their relationship, Cincinelli's in the shower. John gets a text from his daughter. Cincinelli comes out, asks him about it. John gets nervous, makes something up. She then produces a gun and puts it to his head and says, "If you ever do anything like this again, lie to me, I'll blow your head off."
What happens is she goes to jail, she gets arrested, and they're going through the case. It's going to be investigated. Again, the district attorney's going to look at this, And Internal Affairs is going to look at it from a procedural point of view. It's like, okay, maybe she shouldn't be a cop anymore if she's doing this kind of thing, but you have to do a thorough and complete investigation to make sure this John guy isn't embellishing any of this as well. What happens then is there's a restraining order. John ends the relationship. He doesn't want anything more to do with Cincinelli because she's unhinged. She's acting crazy. So he tells her that, and she's not taking no for an answer. She will not let go. She's texting him all day long. She's calling him, et cetera, et cetera. So she breaks the restraining order, and they're both in court for the, breaking the restraining order case. And according to John, their eyes meet and they fall in love all over again. And he tells the judge, you know what? None of this happened. I made the whole thing up. He's still enamored with her, and they get matching tattoos. It says "till death." And he also gets a tattoo of her name on his other wrist. And he fancied himself as somebody from The Sopranos. He would tell people that he was an actor, and he knew some of the cast in The Sopranos. He wore jogging suits everywhere he went. He kind of was like this wannabe mafioso guy. He thought very highly of himself. And having a girlfriend that was, 20 years his junior, and you know what? This guy was no George Clooney. He wasn't like the best looking guy around. So this really stroked his ego to have her as his girlfriend. And I don't think he wanted to lose that. There's a mountain of red flags that John chose to ignore.
She starts fixating as well on Isaiah coming after her pension.
Her and John were talking, and she finds out that she's going to have to pay Isaiah, and this is infuriating her. And she says, you know what? He's got to go. And at first, he didn't really know what that meant. Go where? What do you mean? And she's like, well, if I give you $7,000, could you hire a hitman? Her ex-husband out of the picture permanently. And now, since she's going down this road, it's like, well, since we're going to be having hitmen involved in this, why not have John's daughter disappear as well?
When John realizes that Cincinelli is serious and determined to go through with a murder for hire situation against his daughter and Isaiah, he decides then he's got to take matters into his own hands. So he approaches the FBI for help.
And says, hey, you know what? My girlfriend, and he explains the situation. She's a New York City police officer, and she's going through this messy divorce, and she wants her ex-husband to be out of the picture so she doesn't have to pay him any money. And as an extra special bonus, she wants my daughter out of the picture as well.
The FBI was asking John to actually participate in a sting operation that they were planning. The operation basically involved them considering using an FBI agent to act as the hitman, but in between that, they would need John to be able to have conversations with Valerie to prove that she actually wanted her ex-husband killed, as well as John's daughter. They wanted conversations. They wanted to be able to prove to the court that she was the person who was instigating the murder of those individuals, and that she was the one who had actually provided the money in order for the hitman to carry out that crime.
Okay, how is he going to be in two places at one time?
What do you mean? He'll do one probably on Friday night and next on Saturday.
Okay, well, there'll be two totally different places and two totally different people and two totally different treatments. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, but don't you think like they're going to be looking for me, asking me questions? Oh, your daughter was just killed. Where are you? And then you're going to get a phone call. Your soon-to-be ex-husband, Isaiah, was just killed. Where are you?
Okay, and I'll say wherever it's going to be. We'll end, and so will you. What?
Stressing about it because it's going to happen.
But you say that every weekend for the past month.
They were going to organize a crime scene from where Isaiah had been killed. Now, that would be the icing on the cake as far as the investigators are concerned, because they would then want to see Cincinelli's reaction once John tells her that Isaiah had been killed. What they asked Isaiah to do is that they were going to recreate a crime scene. So they were going to take him somewhere and say, right, this is where you're going to have been shot. And then they set up that fake scene And that was part of the sting operation. It sounds like something out of a Hollywood movie, but sometimes you have to think outside the box.
John tries to act cool, as right on cue, there's a knock at the door.
Who's that? Landscaper?
How you doing? I'm Detective Finnegan, Suffolk County Police Department. This is my partner, Detective Fandry.
Hi.
Okay. You mind having a seat for me, please? I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that Isaiah was found dead this morning.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God.
Anyone want to hurt your husband?
No. This just like doesn't feel real right now to me. I'm sorry. Like I can't really believe this. I'm a cop. Like I can't believe this.
You are a cop?
Yes.
I know. It's a difficult, trying time. I do understand that, and I
understand. I feel like this isn't even real. Like I really do.
No. It's very real. Yeah. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't real. All right. Thank you. Again, you have our condolences.
I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm gonna go to hell. My son's gonna hate me. Oh God.
So now what?
I don't know. I know his family's all gonna blame me.
How are they gonna blame you? You have an alibi. You're home. What the?
I really can't believe this. Delete your text.
I do delete my texts.
From me.
Oh my God.
What?
You just text me.
Why would he text you that? Is he stupid?
Who the last?
Why would he text you that?
I don't know. I'm gonna erase it quick.
It doesn't matter. Are you dumb?
I'm just gonna erase everything. I'm gonna throw the phone away.
It'll show that he sent you this. Are you kidding me? I said 10 days they could subpoena messages.
They're not gonna find him. They're not gonna find him. How are they gonna find him? How are they gonna find him? I gotta erase it.
These texts, you dumbass. They can subpoena these photos.
But since
They arrest her at her house, and the NYPD Internal Affairs Department comes in there as well. They work together. And she's held without bail. The judge deems her that much of a threat that the judge is like, nah, we're not gonna let you out. It's a very serious crime, murder for hire. And then, everything is ×2 because there's two, potential victims of this crime. So she's looking probably at 40 years with the 2 counts. And then to compound that, under the federal sentencing guidelines, you don't get paroled out like you would if you were accused of a state crime. So 40 years could be 40 years.
Cincinelli's confronted with the truth. Isaiah and John's daughter are safe. John has been working undercover with the FBI, and all the plotting and scheming has been caught on camera. Cincinelli faces 2 counts of murder for hire. But unbelievably, cracks start to appear in the FBI's case.
She was interviewed over a period of months. Through plea bargaining, it was decided that the more serious offense was going to be dropped and should have been charged with a lesser offense of obstructing justice.
What? Despite the mountain of evidence against her, she denies the charges. She'd managed to put enough distance between herself and the act of hiring the hitman to be able to deny it if confronted.
The problem for the investigators was there was no evidence of her handing over the money to the so-called hitman. She handed it over to John.
On the 29th of October 2021, after almost 30 months of deliberation, Cincinelli appeared in court, charged with obstruction of justice rather than murder for hire. It's a disaster for the FBI investigators. In the eyes of the law, the fact that Cincinelli didn't herself hand the money to a hitman means she can't be convicted of intent to murder. She's found guilty of only obstruction of justice. And what sentence did she get for this?
4 years.
Cincinelli was released on the 12th of October 2022 and is now a free woman.